30 seconds and counting. T-
Hey, what's good, yo? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm here joined with DJ, and the NBA draft lottery is here. It's actually in the next 4 hours, and so, but we're super excited. Again, Houston has a chance at a top 5 pick, and they have a 14% chance at the number 1 pick overall, and a 52.1% chance at a top 4 pick, and we won't get anything lower than top 5. So that's pretty reassuring, but I'm sure there's a lot of like debate over like the top 3 guys, obviously being Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, and Jabari Smith. And then after 4 or 5, it kind of gets a little dicey because then you have like the guards available. And so there's been a lot of talk on this. So DJ, I just want to hear your thoughts. Like, who do you want in the draft, I guess?
Damn. All right. So like right off the bat, the player that I want is Jabari Smith Jr. I just love his fit with the Rockets, and I know a lot of people are not gonna agree with me because they think, oh, you shouldn't draft fit over like talent. But the truth is, like, he has talent as well. It's just his fit is so good, and I love the fact that he's a really solid defender. He's a great shooter in the big. He can play the 4 primarily, but he can also probably learn to play small ball 5, like how Jaren Jackson Jr. is doing for Memphis, or even like the 3 in like some extreme like big lineups. So he's super versatile. I love his shot is like basically pure, and yeah, he's just a great fit. Won't take the ball out of like Jalen Green's hands much, and he can probably cut. He has some of his flaws with like his finishing abilities. His athleticism is not as great, and then his shot creation not exactly the best. But I feel like those are definitely things that he can improve on. So yeah, right off the bat, that's my number 1 guy.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Jabari too. Like at worst, he could just be like a 3 and D guy for you, and he has the potential to be way more than that. So, Jabari is really interesting, and so I just want to ask you, like, let's just go down the kind of like the possibilities of the lotteries. Okay, so let's start with the worst case scenario, I guess, with Houston getting the 5th pick overall. So we talked about like kind of just mentioned Chet, Paolo, and Jabari, but if we did land pick number 5, what players would you be looking at that position?
All right, so if we're looking at like this sim specifically, if the Pelicans get number 1, I would assume they're taking Chet. You know, Valanciunas from the last year of his deal, or like his second last year, and they can just build upon him, get a guy next to Zion. So that's a perfect fit for them, and they're gonna make a god squad there. Hopefully, this does not happen. Um, if Orlando got number 2, I would assume they would take probably Paolo Banchero. They're still looking for that primary guy to build upon, and you know Banchero has that like star potential in him. OKC, I actually don't even know. Okay, I think OKC would end up probably going Jabari Smith then, just because they don't need another guard because they have Shea, they have Dort, they have Giddy. There's that. Indiana would probably end up going Jaden Ivey. So then that's it. The top 4 are off the board. And if I'm the Rockets, um, I think my options would either be between Shaden Sharp or Keegan Murray. So, and oh my, this is a tough one, but I think I'm gonna end up going with Keegan Murray on this because yeah, Keegan Murray is very similar to Jabari Smith. He's also a really great shooter, really great defender. He is a little bit older. I think he's like 21 and a half, turning 22. So not exactly the youngest guy to build upon, but he still has like a lot of potential out there. And yeah, the Rockets really need to get a big man in this draft. We have a hole specifically like defensively out there. Keegan Murray is a really great defender too. He's really adept at using his size and athleticism as well as his versatility. So I feel like he's the guy to go with this. But if you were to take like a guy like Shaden Sharp, I would not argue with you.
Tell us more about Sharp. I mean, for those who are not familiar with his name.
So like there's not a bad reason that, or don't feel bad if you like don't know much about him. So like Sharp basically did not get to play at all his entire freshman season at Kentucky because of a minor injury. I can't tell you exactly which one it is, but all I know is it's not bad, and he's still there at the draft combine. He's still doing his thing over there. He, in my opinion, is like a Jalen Green light kind of player. He is 6'6", so he's a little bit taller. He is pretty much just as athletic. But he's also a little bit better of a defender. He has a little bit more of a defensive potential. And I feel like if we were to draft him, it would either be that we move Jalen to the one primarily and have him and have Sharp run the two next to him, or we were to, move Sharp to the three, have him play a little bit, not even like a small ball three, because again, he is super athletic, super versatile. So I feel like he can make up for his lack of size at the position. Um, and then yeah, he has pretty much everything you want. He's a decent shooter, has that defensive potential, has a pretty good IQ. The only thing is he doesn't have much time. Like he doesn't have much like playing time because of his injury. So that's kind of like his main like red flag. But other than that, he's definitely not a bad person to take. Definitely has that upside. And if you want to take a chance on him, no team would blame you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen like a lot of the Rockets community say that they're fine with like any pick in the top three. It's just when it gets to 4 and 5, you have to kind of like take the best player available, and that best player available is probably going to be a guard. In our guard room, like with KPJ, Jalen Green, feels like we need like a wing or a big to kind of fulfill that. But let's go to a scenario where we have pick number 4 instead, and Orlando, Indiana, Sacramento, and Houston and Detroit are the top 5 picks.
All right. So in this case, I think I'm gonna go the same thing. Orlando would take Paulo Banchero number one. Indiana, I feel like would end up taking Chet and maybe moving on from Miles Turner, trading him at like the deadline or even on draft night if they get him because they got a new guy to, build upon at that five and just go full rebuild.
Yeah.
Sacramento would probably end up taking Jabari. Then, I feel like they would try to play him at the three or the four next to Sabonis, and he would be a really great fit next to Sabonis at the four. So, that would be good for them. And then if Houston has this pick, mm, I guess Jaden Ivey would be that guy, or again, we could look at Shaden Sharp. Either one of them would be. But Jaden Ivey has shown like a lot of potential. The only thing that Rockets fans maybe like don't like about him is the fact that one, he's a guard, and two, he's not a traditional point guard. So, he's like a combo guard, similar to how like Kevin Porter Jr. is. I feel like he is a little bit better of like a ball handler, and he's like a better in transition guy. So a guy like Jaw who can just like run in transition and just he gets his assist by running up the floor. The thing is, like, I don't know if Houston really needs that. Like we said, we really, really need big man depth or like a wing. So even if you never know, you could take a flyer on a guy like AJ Griffin even up here because these like drafts, like everything is some people can change. Like I remember in last year's draft, everyone thought Jonathan Kaminga and Jalen Suggs would be taken above Scotty Barnes. Then look at him, Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year. So like they're like it depends on how the combines go, how the draft workouts go, and all. So, but other than that, I feel like maybe Jaden Ivey would be the pick here at four.
I've heard some people coin him as the most pro-ready prospect. Do you agree with that assessment or no?
I mean, for his size, like he's like a very big guy. I feel like he'll come into the league and he knows how to use. He'll find a pretty easy way to like use his size and like kind of bully these like point guards and just get his way like that. So I feel like yeah, he is definitely an NBA ready point guard. I think he'd be the most NBA ready guard. But if talking about overall most NBA ready player, I think that would be Paolo Banchero, in my opinion.
Ooh, okay. And I just wanted to know, you didn't mention Keegan Murray for pick number 4, so I'm assuming the highest you would pick him would be pick 5.
Yeah, I feel like the highest I would pick Keegan Murray would be at pick five, and that's only if Ivy's taken at the top three are done. Ivy or Sharp is at four, and then honestly, at that point, I'm already feeling my misery because the Rockets really, really, really deserve a top three pick. We really need a big man, especially after last season and all the suffering we've had to endure.
Most definitely. And let's push you out of your misery real quick and go to the next one. Okay, now we're at the pick three scenario. Now with OKC getting pick number one, they finally get some happiness, I guess. Whatever. And then pick number two goes to Orlando, and then pick number three, Houston. I feel like this is the most interesting spot. You just get whoever falls to you, basically. It's the most stress-free one, I guess. But what what do you think about this scenario?
All right, so if I'm OKC, I feel like OKC is the type of person who would just take Chet number one, like no matter what, just because they need a center and a center like badly. Like they have good guard play, but their like interior like play and depth is just horrendous. So they would definitely take Chet in this thing, and that would mean Orlando would probably take either Jabari or Paulo. But again, as I mentioned, Orlando is still looking for that like star to like kind of build around, and I feel like they would draft more on best player available rather than like fit. So they would take Paulo, and honestly, this makes me happy if this is the case because I still get my guy, the Jabari Smith in this case, but hypothetically, it could also be the other way. Maybe OKC takes a guy like takes Banchero, Orlando takes Jabari, and if that's the case, we would take maybe Chet at three, which I'm not upset at because at this point it's just whichever one of the top three big men is left on the board. So that's pretty much my thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would love to have Chet because I just think he's fills so many holes on this team. It's just like whether or not he can. A lot of concerns on his like body weight, but I feel like he's been able to manage it pretty well in college, and I feel like it wouldn't be too much. I mean, a lot of people calling him like Kristaps Porzingis, but I feel like he's much different from that. So I mean, we'll see. But yeah, that's the third pick scenario. Now let's look at pick number two scenario, Sacramento getting pick number one and Houston getting pick number two.
Hmm. I feel like Sacramento at one, they would want a guy like probably Jabari. They'll take Jabari at one because Jabari is pretty much like the perfect player to put alongside Sabonis, who I feel like they're going to be running at the center position. And if that's the case, at number two, we would either take Chet or Paulo.
Mhm.
I I could go with either one. Honestly, I think I would go with I'd probably go with Chet as well. Chet is a really good player. The only thing that's really bothering me about him is his weight. I believe at the combine he clocked in at 195. So as a 7'1" center, he's still sub 200 pounds, which is super scary. But we've seen the slimmest guys get bulked up in the NBA. I mean, look at Giannis, how when he came in, he was literally a stick, and now he's probably like the strongest guy there is. So anything is possible. It's not and I feel like our health nutrition team would you know just start force feeding him three like three meals like every like 2 hours or something, just to get him to bulk up. So if we were to get Chet, but yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about him. He definitely would fill in our hole at the center position. The question is, would he be able to play next to a guy like Sengun, who I feel like he might not be our long term like starting center, but he is going to be a big part of our future. So I don't know if they're going to be able to play together. And if we were to draft Chet, I feel like Christian Wood's future with the Rockets would come into question. The Rockets would probably end up looking to move him because what's the point of drafting
Mhm.
a center with your third pick if you're just gonna have him play like third string minutes, or like that doesn't make sense. So if we were to get Chet, I feel like we would definitely look to move Wood, whether it be during this draft or maybe like in the off season. And on the other hand, we could also get Paulo Banchero, which is also a great thing. I think the best comparison I've heard for Paulo is prime Blake Griffin, specifically like that 2019 Detroit Pistons Blake Griffin, where he was bringing the ball up the court, facilitating, scoring, playing some defense, doing a little bit of everything. And while that is a great thing, I don't know if that's what you need to like win. He definitely, I don't know if he can be the number one player on a championship team, but it's definitely like a number two or number three option. And even though his fit might be a little questionable, also regarding like his defense is not exactly the best, he would be like the best player available in this case, in my opinion. So they say pick best player available and don't worry about fit. And if they're really that as good as they're supposed to be, then the fit will just come with time. So with that being the case, whoever we take, either Paulo, Chet, Jabari, it's gonna be fine. I feel like we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think with Paulo Banchero, or I think it's Banchero actually. I've been pronouncing it wrong. But I think with him, I think getting another shot creator, because he can definitely like make his other teammates look better. And so we struggled a lot last season, really relying on KPJ, and then Şengün was probably our best passer last season, best like assist maker last season. So I think getting another guy on that in that aspect would be really really helpful. And I think and then he shot pretty well in the tournament too, so that gave a lot of people some confidence on how he could project into the NBA, and he's kinda like the opposite of Chet in terms of, like, body frame concerns, like, he has, like, kinda like would you agree, like, one of the better, like, frames, like, NBA frames? I don't know how you would say it, but, like,
Definitely,
it's like
definitely. I feel like yeah, if he definitely has a better frame. I think he was 240, maybe even 250 when he got his weight measure. So he's gonna come. He's not gonna have a problem guarding per se. It's just a matter of will his defensive instincts be NBA ready. That's and also like yeah, he's not the best defender, but I feel like definitely NBA ready. He is that number one prospect that's gonna come in and just start like he's not gonna have a problem adjusting to the NBA if that makes sense.
Okay, and now let's look at the final scenario where we are victorious and we get the first pick in the NBA draft. And we already kind of mentioned this earlier, but you'd pick Jabari. But yeah, what do you think about like this scenario?
This is what I want. But at the same time, it's like this is a lot of stress. Just saying, because
Yeah.
there is no clear like number one NBA prospect. Like last year, how the last year was, it was Cade Cunningham, and even though Cade didn't win Rookie of the Year, we know Cade is going to be a superstar. So it's not like the Pistons are regretting that pick at all. And this is just one of those drafts where we don't know who's going to be that guy. So this is a lot of pressure. The whole NBA media is gonna be like on this rookie, whoever they get drafted number one, be like, oh, are they living up to the hype? Were they a bust? If they have an off game, it's gonna be like everyone ESPN is gonna be like, oh my god, they drafted a bust. So it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of stress on the team that's drafting them. But I don't know, man. So really, at this point, you never know. I'm not Rafael Stone. He's the one making the executive decision at the end of the day. He could get Chet. He could get Paulo. He could get Chet, Paulo, Jabari. He could get pretty much whoever. But just saying, this is a lot of stress for who if we get number one. But ideally, I would rather want the number one pick than say the number 4 or 5. But honestly, as long as I get number one, hell, even number two, I think the Rockets should be in good hands, and we can consider this draft a success.
Yeah, I guess with number one, you control your own destiny. You don't need to worry about like, oh, is this guy gonna fall? Like, especially if the Rockets they fall in love with the prospect. And I think it's pretty interesting. I think last year we heard rumors that like the analytics team wanted Mobley, and then like the ball the ball knowers wanted like Jalen Green. So that was pretty interesting how they went with that. But I don't know how that's gonna play in their draft process. I'm sure they are because Şengün was kind of like an analytics pick, in a sense. And so do you think like what player kind of fits that like I don't know, it's kind of a weird question, but like do you know like that analytics like type of player that kind of checks all those boxes?
I think the analytics player would probably be Chet,
Yeah.
just because he doesn't have many flaws in his game outside from like his offensive side of the ball. But if he comes in and he's like a primary, like his defense makes up for his, I wouldn't say lack of offense because he can like still bring it down the court and like do a little bit, play make from the post and all that. So, but like his offensive like scoring game, he kind of needs like another guard to like dish him the ball and all that. So aside from that, being is like his only flaw, I feel like so that's why he would be like the analytics choice. But then I guess the ball knowers would be Paulo, just because he's super NBA ready and he can just come in and just he's gonna be a star. We don't know if he's going to be a superstar, but he's probably going to end up being some kind of like all star, multiple time all star in his career. And then that just leaves Jabari. Jabari is like a mix of the two. On one hand, his fit would please like the analytics side because he's such a great defender, cutter, um, shot maker. He can do all that. But on the other side, he can't exactly create his own shot, and he relies too much on his shooting at times. And if he goes in a slump, that could like mess things up. So he's like a mix of both. So maybe in order to please the ball knowers and the analytics, we go with Jabari, and I guess that's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah, I think it's something interesting to consider because I feel like it's something that they consider, but we really don't. We're just like, oh, like who just like looks the best. But I feel like there's so many things that they take into consideration. So like if they do go with Chet, they probably are fine with his measurables or his weight or his whatever. And they feel like they can build upon that. They feel confident in that. And then like obviously with Jabari, just they feel confident that they can like build upon that. And I feel like maybe some people get his dribbling flaw, like kind of blow it out of proportion, saying like he can't dribble for anything. And then with Chet, I like him a lot, because like he's super instinctual. I really like his basketball IQ. Like he just knows, like he makes a lot of good plays, and so yeah, I think I personally like Chet. You like Jabari, but honestly, we all be a happy family if we get top three. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Let us know your thoughts on the NBA lottery. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notification. We'll record a video after it saying who we predict now since we know the position. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. Peace.